St. Cloud, 10 November 1799. The sky hangs gray and heavy, the air charged with tension. The Seine Valley, west of Paris, lies under tight military control. Grenadiers at the gates, dragoons along the avenues, artillery ready to seal every approach. For security, the two consuls have been moved here, a security that smells of strategy. Bonaparte wears no crown, yet holds real power, the power of bridges and roads. From the Carousel to Neuilly and Sèvres, the capital is a guarded island, cut off from the world. In the Council of 500, his brother Lucien presides. In the Council of Ancients sit men determined to end the Directory. Within a few miles between Paris and St. Cloud, the fate of France is decided. The 18th and 19th of Brumaire, 9 and 10 November, are not just dates. They are coordinates for a surgical operation to overthrow a regime exhausted by war, debt, and hunger. In a few hours, debates will become shouts, and a sudden gesture will change history without a single musket shot. But how did a young Corsican officer, raised among maps and guns, get this far? And above all, what will happen when the doors of the Orangery close behind him? Napoleon Bonaparte was born at Ajaccio in 1769, when Corsica, recently transferred from Genoa to France, was still a shifting frontier land. Among mountains that cut the island north to south and harbors exposed to the Mistral, a boy of modest family quickly learns that geography can decide destinies. At 10, he crosses the Ligurian Sea and the interior of France. Brienne, in Champagne, becomes his first real training ground. There, he studies trigonometry, cartography, military history. He does not shine for elegance, but for precision and calculation. Artillery, the science of angles and distances, becomes his mother tongue. In 1784, he reaches the École Militaire in Paris, entering the artillery arm, the branch that measures each shot in seconds and degrees, that weighs terrain before courage. A year later, he is a second lieutenant. He passes from Auxonne to Valence and La Fère, sketching forts, setting elevation, measuring range, observing how a river can arrest an army or an alpine pass open a campaign. The Revolution of 1789 throws open careers the ancient regime kept shut. He returns repeatedly to Corsica, an island split between French loyalties and independentist nostalgia. Here rules Pascal Paoli, the hero of the resistance against Genoa who now, after years of exile in England, governs from 1794 with British support. Between them, the relationship quickly sours. Paoli distrusts the young officer, too close to revolutionary France. Their paths diverge. Bonaparte chooses Paris, the army, and above all, he chooses France.
Did you know that most people who watch our documentaries aren't subscribed yet? If you enjoy animated maps and history, join our community. Leave a like and subscribe so you never miss the next episodes.
Toulon, winter 1793. The British fleet uses the great Mediterranean harbor as a strategic outpost. The city, shielded by coastal batteries and heights overlooking the roadstead, seems unassailable. Bonaparte studies the curve of hills and the arc of fire, concentrates artillery on the Little Gibraltar, Fort Mulgrave, and on Les Goulettes, breaking the defense that seals the harbor entrance. With those heights in French hands, the guns dominate the port. The enemy fleet is forced to evacuate. For the first time, his name binds itself to a change on the map. The West Mediterranean loses a naval battle hostile to France. The reward is promotion to brigadier general at just 24. The next year, amid Thermidore's political turmoil, he is arrested, accused of being too close to the fallen Jacobins. The charge collapses within weeks, and he returns to command. In 1795, in Paris, comes the decisive test. On 13 Vendémiaire, 5th October, a royalist rising marches against the government. Bonaparte arrays battles between Saint-Roch, the Rue Saint-Honore, and the Tuileries, sitting guns to cross fire on the approaches. A blast of grape shot scatters the attackers in minutes. It is more than a military victory. The map of the capital changes. The key points pass under army control. The Directory, saved, gives him command of the Army of the Interior. The following year, he receives command of the Army of Italy. The direction is now set. His way of fighting is born from reading the ground and turning maps into decisions. Toulon and Vendémiaire fixed the method: observe, concentrate fire, dominate the nodal points. From now on, he will follow lines linking ports, passes, and capitals. In 1796, he receives command of the Army of Italy, deployed between Liguria and the Alps. With a string of rapid victories, he defeats the Austrians and the Piedmontese, seizes Milan, and compels Mantua to surrender. With the Treaty of Campo Formio in October 1797, France's frontier reaches the Rhine, and the Cisalpine Republic is born. In 1798, he sails for Egypt. He wins at the Pyramids, but the fleet is destroyed at the naval battle of Aboukir, and the campaign stalls after the failed siege of Acre. Cut off from the Mediterranean, in the summer of 1799, he returns to France and heads for Paris. While France's frontiers shift ceaselessly with the wars, politics grinds to a halt. The Directory, founded to block monarchy's return and curb revolutionary excess, is now paralyzed by debts, military crises, and internal rivalries. In 1799, the Second Coalition retakes parts of Italy and Switzerland. In Paris, bread prices rise and inflation fuels popular anger. Emmanuel Sieyès, a director and man of ideas, is convinced a sword is needed, a general able to impose a new constitution. Talleyrand supplies political contracts, while Lucien Bonaparte, Napoleon's brother and president of the Council of 500, guarantees control of the assembly. The brothers are strongly bound, yet different in character. Lucien is more idealistic and less drawn to personal power, but in those decisive days his loyalty is total. He will steer the chamber, and at the peak of tension, defend his brother with words and gestures that entered history. The plan, simple yet decisive, calls for moving the deputies away from Paris, where a crowd could sway decisions, and gathering them at St. Cloud outside the city. It is 18 Brumaire in the revolutionary calendar, 9 November 1799. That morning, the Council of Ancients approves the transfer and gives Napoleon command of the troops in Île-de-France. Units move at once, seizing the nodal points: the Tuileries, the Carousel, the bridges of the Seine, and the main approaches to the capital. Within hours, Paris is under military control. Meanwhile, envoys and allies work to secure parliamentary support for the new political arrangement. Patrols secure the arsenals, the printing presses, and the post, choking off messages and rumors. When, in the afternoon, the two councils reach St. Cloud, the stage for the coup is already set. The city is isolated, military power in Bonaparte's hands, and every possibility of defending the Directory has evaporated. Police detachments neutralize messengers, couriers, and would-be agitators. Any attempt to rally the sections is smothered at birth. Over the course of the day, the Directory falls apart. Barras, aware the coup is now unstoppable, tenders his resignation. Sieyès and Ducos, already aligned with Napoleon, formally withdraw from the executive. Only Gohier and Moulins remain opposed, and they are neutralized. Watched, constrained in their movements, they cannot coordinate any response. As evening falls, the capital is quiet. Streets and bridges are held by the army. No crowds gather, and the two consuls, already transferred to St. Cloud, are far from Paris and cut off from the dissolved government. The next day, 19 Brumaire, the decisive moment arrives. In the palace rooms and the Orangerie at St. Cloud, political debate turns to open confrontation. Bonaparte addresses the Council of Ancients, urging that the government be remade, then enters the 500, the Stormier chamber. There he is met by shouts and accusations of a coup. The crisis explodes. Lucien, presiding, declares that armed deputies threaten the freedom of deliberation and transfers authority to the military. Operational command passes to General Murat. Grenadiers and the Legislative Guard enter the Orangerie, remove hostile deputies, and restore order. The Directory ceases to exist, not through battle, but by physically occupying the key points: doors, courtyards, approaches. Within hours, a provisional government, Bonaparte, Sieyès, and Ducos, takes shape. The council, reduced to a commission, authorizes the drafting of a new constitution. Under the protection of troops controlling bridges and roads, the Constitution of Year 8 emerges. 3 consuls in power, a strong executive, and separate legislative bodies. Paris stays calm. The provinces fall in line. France changes regime by moving thousands of men within 10 miles of the capital. From here, the Consulate will launch reforms and campaigns that redraw Europe's map. To consolidate power, the new regime needs swift military success. In May 1800, Bonaparte crosses the Great Saint Bernard, frees Milan, and defeats the Austrians at Marengo. By year's end, the victory at Hohenlinden opens the road to the Peace of Luneville, strengthening French influence in Italy and along the Rhine. With the Peace of Amiens in 1802, Europe enjoys a brief truce. The respite won on the battlefield gives Bonaparte the time to reorganize France in depth. By a law of 1800, the territory is divided into departments headed by prefects appointed by the central government, a system that concentrates power in Paris, curbs local autonomy, and ensures tight control over the whole country. On the religious front, the Concordat with Pope Pius VII, signed in 1801 and applied from 1802, ends a decade of state-church conflict. Catholicism is recognized as the religion of the majority of the French. Bishops are nominated by the government and paid by the state, and in return, the clergy swears loyalty to the Republic. In the economy, the creation of the Banque de France provides a stable base for credit and public finance, while in 1803, the introduction of the franc germinal establishes a sound monetary system, tied to defined gold and silver content, able to resist inflation. In education, the lycées are founded, secondary schools designed to train the future civil and military elite. The same logic guides the creation of the Légion d'honneur, an order of merit rewarding officers, officials, and citizens distinguished in service to the nation, regardless of social origin. In 1804, the state's reorganization finds legal form. On 21 March, the Civil Code takes effect, an organic body of rules governing property, contracts, marriage, inheritance, and individual rights. Intended to be clear and stable, it becomes a legal model for much of Europe, spreading across territories controlled or influenced by France. But that year is not only the triumph of reform, it is also a political turning point. After royalist plots against his life and the dramatic arrest and execution of the Duke of Enghien, Bonaparte decides to transform the Consulate into an imperial monarchy. On 18 May, the Senate formally proclaims the empire, ending collegial rule. The climax comes on 2 December in Notre Dame. Before Pope Pius VII, summoned to consecrate the ceremony, Napoleon performs a gesture destined for legend. He takes the crown from the pontiff's hands and sets it on his own head. It is the sign that his authority depends on no one, not even the church. Less than 5 years have passed from the seizure of power to the imperial throne, and Napoleon's ascent has only begun. Europe's map is about to change again. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share it. The next chapter will take you into the heart of the campaigns that defined an era.